Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparutade sangamatassa tavara ye sodavanta pamunchantu satang. So this evening is beginning of the formal monastic retreat, ending on the 25th. And of course this I encourage towards silence, and main idea is to conform physically to the schedule provided as best you can, and any movements not wanting to, please notice, how difficult it is to conform if you don't like particularly to do that. And then, but this is a communal retreat, so it's like we're supporting, as a Sangha, each one's endeavors toward liberation. So this is not about my practice as if, it's something separate from yours. There's a sense of community, of Sangha, of being a unit, a group, rather than an individual. And of course, our individual tendencies are rising and ceasing, and there's all kinds of emotions and views and opinions that can arise and cease. But see, there's an opportunity to observe that. So I'd encourage you to kind of adhitan, or determine, for this next week, this endeavor, communal endeavor. Of course, the basic practice, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, the 4 iriyabot, the 4 postures, breathing, anapanasati, have the pujas and so forth as for the core what, or the kind of basic duties we have as samanas, agreements that we have, and in regards to action and speech, and then practice this remembering the present, the paccuppanna Dhamma, to keep remembering here and now, sati, sampajanya, all that is present here and now. The body, you're either sitting, standing, walking, or lying down, breathing all the time, sound of silence, and this ability to recollect, to remember, is the sati. This is we forget, we get carried away. Our habits are to live according to habits, about the world that we have been conditioned to, the past, the future. But see this also as a special opportunity to really cultivate, develop bhavana, in other words, to really see mindfulness as the path to the deathless. This gate to the deathless reality. This is your only escape, the only possibility to be relieved, to get out of the vortex, the whirlwind of conditionality. And so I've had printed these, my favorite quote from the scriptures, the unconditioned, ati bhikkhave ajatang aputang akatang sankadang, just as a continuous reminder, because I found this particular teaching one of the most useful in my monastic life. Because it is a repetition. Sometimes if you don't quite understand or you don't have a feeling for it, because trying to imagine the unborn, unconditioned, unformed, unoriginated, and all you can't do it. It's beyond imagination. But then the dukkha, the suffering, is always from attachment to the form, the conditioned, the originated. This blind attachment, it's the conditioning that we all have that is the cause of our suffering, a kind of blind conditioning, reactivity, habitual tendencies that we acquire when we're babies, begins then when we're born, and can we just be carried on to death with just the habitual reactions that we've developed when we were young, the habit tendencies. So then this awakened sati sampajanya, remembering the awake here and now, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, these are all the words, the way of using these words for remembering here and now. Not remembering the past. It's important to remember yesterday or last year or 10 years ago, but recollecting, bringing back yourself into the present. So you begin to tune into the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. You recognize it. It's recognizable. It's not just some state that's refined that you can't. You have to be a highly spiritually evolved person in order to see it, to know it. It's not about being special or refined. It's about trusting in the awareness of here and now. And so this is the an encouragement during these 10 days to keep remembering. This is your sole duty, really. Very simple, isn't it? Remembering here and now. Paccubana Dhamma, the reality of now. So there's the posture. This is a way of bringing attention to the body. They use the what they call the 4 Iryabhata, which is sitting, standing, walking, lying down. 4 ordinary postures, the breath. The mantra Puto also I found, I've used that for years. I found that very useful way of collecting myself in the present. Puto, the knowing, here and now. And then if we determine to respect the silence, then this is we're not at least intentionally distracting ourselves or distracting each other, because this is a special opportunity. Most of the time we have to deal with speaking and relating and working and going to meetings and so forth. That is part of human condition, just like anything else. But this is a kind of special situation, arranged solely for this encouragement toward recognizing the real, awakening to the real. And if you keep pursuing this, you will. Eventually it'll sink in. It's not that you're ever the world isn't what you think it is. You are not what you believe you are. And so all these beliefs we have, or these opinions or views that we have about ourselves, about each other, they're not to be regarded as truth or reality. They are what they are, like their memory, their sanya. We have certain memories arise where we feel happy or guilty or resentful. We remember people from the past and events of the past and fears of the future, worries about the future. So the past and the future can occupy all our life. We can be completely devoted to doing something now to get something in the future. Well, this is where it all stops, here and now. And this is reality, this is the real. The conditioned realm, the thoughts, the feelings, emotions, pleasant, painful, high, low, ecstatic, depressed, whatever their qualities might be, they're not me and mine, they're anatta. They are what they are. And that awareness of them is all that's necessary. It isn't necessary to comment, to criticize, to define, or analyze. Just note, at this very moment, the feeling I'm experiencing is like this. The breath is like this, or the posture. I encourage a lot of body awareness, because the body is another strong attachment, and a very convincing one, that this is what I really am, is this body. And so it's very strong feeling of this is me, I am this physical body. And so this is where, when we pay attention to the body with sati panya, with mindfulness and wisdom, then we're aware of the body, we're not denying it, but we're beginning to see it is what it is at this moment. It's a sensitive form that we experience all the time, with the day or night or whatever. We have to live within this limited form. It's like incarcerated in this human form for a lifetime, and it has its various pleasant, painful, neutral sensations. It's aging process. That's the way it is. But our relationship to it is no longer owning it, or identifying with it, or dismissing it, or despising it, but recognizing. Now, consciousness means that we can recognize this present moment. The fact that we can actually be aware of the body sitting without making it into anything more than what it is. Sitting is like this. And the experience, the reality and the experience, the sensations that you can recall, that you can observe just by sitting here and observing the posture that you're in. Standing, walking, lying down. These are the normal movements that we use throughout the day and night. Sitting, standing, walking, lying down, breathing. Now, I'm not pointing to any kind of special form of sitting, standing, walking, lying down, or any form of special breathing. With mindfulness, it isn't a matter of refining the breath or tranquilizing it or to have perfect posture, but to recognize the awareness, being aware of the body as it is what it is in the present. It's like this. Recognize it's an energetic form, so it's always feeling something. It's it's a sensitive, energetic form in a sense realm, and this is the conditioned realm. So it's through the unconditioned that we can recognize conditions, and that's why I'm pointing to the unconditioned all the time, so that you're not just believing or trying to fool yourself or playing tricks with your mind, about all the conditions are impermanent, because we can get into a kind of intellectualization of it, and we can kind of believe we really understand that. Sape sankarani, all conditions are impermanent. But we're actually maybe just attached to the formula, the actual words, and holding a view or an opinion about all conditions are impermanent. So it's not believing in a view or an opinion. All conditions are impermanent is not about believing. All good Buddhists should believe that all conditions are impermanent. It's not like that. It's observing, beginning to reflect on the changingness, the sensitivity that each one of us is experiencing at this very moment. Now the self-view, the Sakkaya-ditthi view, this is the first fetter that blinds us. This is always the assumption that I am this body, and then when I start assuming that I am this physical body and that I am this personality, it has a whole history connected to it. It goes back in the years, remembering of past experience. Memories arise and cease. Views and opinions form. Habitual emotions arise. And then by never investigating or getting outside that, then I am trapped in a personality view. Now, to see one's personality is not to criticize it. It's not about or getting rid of a personality, but being able to discern reality from the personality. So as a person, I can't, when I attach to the sense of myself as a person, like a ditthi, then that I'm back in the world again. I am Ajahn Sumedho, this born in 75 years ago, and on like this whole history arises, memories, events. But in sati sampajanya, then all of that can be seen for what it is. It is what it is, a sense of me as this body, me as this person. It's not a denial or a rejection, but a recognition that this sense of being this person, these memories, with this history, and this body, and all the assumptions, habitual assumptions we have from that identity, from the attachment to these conditions, then I'm very vulnerable, self-conscious, return to the habit tendencies of my life, and I'm born again as Ajahn Sumedho, born again Buddhist. But if I recognize sati sampajanya, the unconditioned, unborn, unformed, what that really means is just awakened attentiveness, paying attention, listening. It's not looking for anything. It's receptive, sensitive, open here and now. And as you in the practice, then the bhavanas, to really treasure this opportunity, this sense of here and now. Just think of your own life, how having to prove yourself, define yourself, criticize yourself, self-consciousness, identity with the body, with the memories, the emotions, how much suffering that causes us, how confused life becomes, how onerous it is as an experience on a personal level. So this personality then is not to be despised, it's not an attack on it, but putting it in its proper place, seeing it for what it is. Knowing this conscious sati sampajanya, amatta Dhamma, this is our ability from this here and now point of being incarcerated in this form that's conscious, to reflect on the here and now. That's the point of being a human being, really. If you begin to really understand and appreciate that's all you need to know. You don't have to become anything or prove anything to anybody or get anything that you don't have or get rid of anything. It's mere recognizing, beginning to value and treasure and even worship this ability that we have as human individuals to awaken to ultimate reality, to amatta Dhamma, to deathless, to the real. And still have to live with this form till it finally dies. The difference between an awakened human being and an unawakened one is the unawakened one really believes everything. They're just caught in a trap. Like a sticky web. The more you resist it, the more sticky it becomes. It's like you're just caught in a trap, a kind of futility of life. Because one just goes around and around in the conditioned realm. So that's why this chant, there is the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. If there was not the unborn, uncreated, unformed condition, there would be no escape from the born, the created, the formed, the conditioned. That says a lot right there. There'd be no way to get out of the trap. We'd be just helpless victims of habits, of conditioning, of the body, whatever happened to it. We would, it would be a kind of depressing experience to be just helplessly stuck in unpleasant, depressing, inadequate conditioning. So on a worldly level, we try to improve the conditions. If you're not particularly interested in bhavana, to improve the conditions, so at least you're cultivating virtuousness and goodness, generosity and sila, morality. That is certainly encouraged, because that will make you a happier person. You will have a happier life as a person, as an individual, through being generous and being responsible for action and speech. 5 precepts. You can see Sunday, the generosity, the dana. We live on generosity from the lay community. We're alms mendicants, so we depend on the kindness and generosity of the society that we live in. And so, it is impressive to see the incredible generosity that comes to us from the lay community. Because then it's something, that even if many of the lay people come just to give dana, just to develop generosity. And that, of course, generosity, just notice when you're generous, the difference between being selfish and being generous. You can observe it, You just think of, I want this for me, and be able to share what you have with others as a person. And then the morality, the 5 precepts, is a kind of standard, a basis for action and speech. And that, of course, is something that we ask for. We don't go around telling people they're going to hell if they don't keep the 5 precepts, like that. Not, trying to scare people into keeping the 5 precepts, but encouraging, leading onward toward good action, taking responsibility for our lives, for kindness and generosity as persons, as people, as personalities. It's a way to live a happy life. But even a happy life has its karma. And so, when we begin to recognize that just being happy and virtuous, there's still something we lack. And that's where the bhavana begins to register in our consciousness. Meditation, awakening. So these 3 concepts, dana, sila, bhavana, very simple thing to remember. It's a sequence to be encouraged. People can't stop drinking, and so I was telling, at least they can be generous. Increase the amount of generosity. And then the sila, and then the bhavana. Now bhavana really is, it's not, that's why this word, the Pali word bhavana, really means cultivating awareness. It's not about anything else but that. To really bhavana it's from the unconditioned that we have that perspective on the conditioned. So it's not about getting refined or tranquil or happy through meditation. It's about recognizing the awakened, conscious reality of now. It's just this. And of course it doesn't seem like anything much. You try to describe it, it's impossible. It's the way it is, or it's like this. You can't really define it or describe it, but you can recognize it. Now, in my own practice over the years, this recognition of this is the real insight. So it's like awakening to, maybe it just is a flash, a sudden flash of recognition. Like it started when I was a samanera, this moment of just recognizing there is the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. This is it. And then, of course, I'd forget it and easily pulled back into, other emotions and so forth that would arise. So, in this way, sati then in Thai, as I've told you before, they use the word kwamra luk, which means to recall or remember. here and now Dhamma, Puto, Paccuppanna Dhamma, Amatta Dhamma, unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. This. Now, when I do this, and I've used, I notice this vibration, what I call sound of silence. So just sharing this what I know about this with you, but don't make anything out of the sound of silence. Even though I talk a lot about it, and people keep asking me, don't make it into some kind of esoteric, mystical experience. It's not some kind of subtle vibration that is special. It's just not noticed. So during these 10 days, I encourage to not try to get anything out of these 10 days. Like when we start a retreat, and we talk about noble silence, and we can say very inspiring things about practice. And what does that do to you as an individual? When you say you should, try to surrender to the retreat, try to the community, endeavor, on and on like this. The important thing is when I talk like this, how does it affect you? And it, whatever way it does, just begin to trust you just recognize it's like this. So that it's about, using the form, using the schedule for mindfulness, but not, making the schedule and the retreat into some kind of arduous tests of your practice, or to get something out of it, in order to to really practice and get insight. If that's your tendency to do that, observe it. This feeling, I've got to get something I don't have. I've got these 10 days, and I want everybody to be quiet so I can really get my practice together, or any whatever way that you find your feeling about formal retreats. It is what it is. And the knowing of it, this knowing is what we recognize, this ability to know, the witnessing position, the unconditioned, in which then the conditions are seen in perspective. And for that brief moment, we might actually, we begin to notice, if we sustain awareness, maintain it, more and more we find a kind of joyfulness in just being, without having to create any kind of special conditions. But it's learning to recognize this empty, natural, awakened consciousness from this point, here and now, and cultivating or developing. That's what bhavana really means. Now, the form, the structure, monastic life, the bhikkhu, siladhara, samanera, anagarika, and so forth, this is merely a tool, expedient means. Not to attach to it, but to use it for this awareness. It makes life simple. because we're not spending our time trying to improve or always trying to change things, but this makes our relationship, our agreements, so that our life can be devoted to bhavana rather than towards trying to change all the conditions according to what we might like or want or feel. So that the aim of a tradition like this, Theravada monastic tradition, isn't about institutionalizing us into some kind of monks and nuns that just obediently follow rules. It can look like that sometime, unquestioningly, slavishly follow rules. It's to simplify our lives. Now, if you notice, lay people's lives are much more complicated because they at this time, modern society doesn't have much boundary to it. It's each one for themselves, individualism. It's about me, getting what I can. So it's it doesn't lead towards seeing and recognizing Dhamma. The emphasis is always on the individual, on views and opinions, on rights and privileges, or on what's wrong. And so then it's like each one, we each do our own thing, as they say. It's, if I feel like doing this, I have a right to do it. I'm a free man to do whatever I say, whatever I want. Hear these discussions, sometimes on the radio, where they talk about freedom of speech, where do we have a right to say anti-Semitic things in public now? And some people say, yes, we shouldn't outlaw these kind of statements. We have a right to say whatever we want or think, or insult Islam, or whatever, racist jokes, or ethnic jokes, to insult, or to just blurt out whatever comes into our minds, called freedom of speech. And notice that this emphasis on right speech, samavaja, in this Eightfold Path, cultivating right speech. And what is that? It's taking responsibility for what I say, what I put out towards others in the society. Knowing that if I say things in anger, if I insult somebody, if I say things that demean, humiliate, or whatever other people, I have a right to say whatever I want according to modern values. Freedom of speech, Hyde Park Corner, whatever. But in samavaja, right speech, this is like recognizing how to use your speech. So the intention of a Buddhist samana is harmlessness, not to intentionally harm, hurt, humiliate, insult, put down another person. It's not about being politically correct all the time and according to ways that people endlessly afraid to say things because they want to be politically correct. It's not about that, but it's about knowing yourself what is appropriate, the time, the place, when to say, when not to say anything. Now this is intuitive. There's no prescription that I have a right to say whatever comes into my mind wherever I am. But also reflecting when I do insult somebody or hurt somebody's feelings unintentionally. It hurts me too, because if I find out that I've actually hurt somebody feelings just through heedless speech of mine, then it is not only painful for the person, but it at least in me, it arouses a sense of guilt and remorse. So observing this, how my personality, my emotional life does react to things, and that by developing samavajja, then this sense of confidence in and not being just a compulsive speaker, or to assume that I have a right to say anything I want to, or that if somebody's offended, that's being cold and callous about it. That's their problem. They're offended, that's their problem. We can dismiss the effect we have on other people. Now, in taking responsibility for action and speech, this is kind of like it's a beautiful, noble gesture to be responsible for one's actions and speech. How to use speech, how to use form, how to use rules, tradition. Not for developing an ego or for idealism or for any other thing but mindfulness. Because we have to live within forms. This is until we die. We have to live within the limitation of the bodies we have till they drop dead. Whatever that limitation might be. We have our own vipaka kamma to endure. The way our personality and emotional habits work. Because sometimes we don't even, a lot of our, we don't like ourselves that much because we can, we tendency towards being very self-critical, guilt-ridden, feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, haunt us, convulse us and consume us. If we don't awaken from that, then we're stuck with that till we die. But this is an opportunity to awaken, to learn, to use our vipaka kamma skillfully. So whatever it might be, whether it's physical weakness, sickness, ailments, disease, old age, emotional habits that arise, memories of the past, whatever they are, pleasant, unpleasant, good, bad, silly, or intelligent, or foolish, or insane, or whatever, it's not a matter of seeing anything as a disadvantage, but in learning to recognize it is what it is. And so it's seeing the conditions are what they are. And it's not about whether we like them or don't like them, but this is the way it is. It's not a fatalistic kind of personal resignation, but it's a recognition that at this moment, whatever you're feeling through the body or through the emotions is the way it is. It's the truism. Now just that ability, the way it is, means that that's a pointing. I find this, the way it is a way of accepting whatever I'm feeling. Not making it into anything more than that. And recognize that the body is an energetic form. So we have to, if we think and we have emotions arising, that emotions can bring energy, or they can drain us, or they can excite us. But the knowing, the knowing, the sati sampajanya, is how we relate to the conditioned realm. Changing from attachment, ignorance, attachment, identity, to it is the way it is. Then our relationship to the society, say as monastics, is that our relationship to the society that we're living in here in England is one of mindfulness, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. We relate to the world around us not by, loving it or hating it, but recognizing it. Our relationship to it is based on loving kindness. So we are dependent on the society for our requisites. So we've chosen this way of life, putting ourselves in this very unusual position of being a helpless alms mendicant, meaning that we are dependent on the kindness, generosity of other people. Well, that also is some some of the monks or nuns have told me how their parents find that that we're leeches, we're parasites on the society. We sit here at Amaravati just waiting for people to bring us cheesecake and things like this. And that we're just, parasites. Because that's how the worldly mind tends to see somebody that to them it looks like we're not doing anything. Sitting here like this for an hour and watching our breath, listening to the sound of silence. It sounds crazy to most people, I'm sure. And you expect people to come and give you food every day for doing that? In Thailand, they have a different attitude because it's a different culture. It's a culture that is influenced by Buddhism. But here, it's a culture based on work ethic, on you shouldn't get anything unless you work hard for it. Unless you're a banker. Then this kind of alms mendicancy is a relationship to the lay society around us, because it's the one of gratitude, appreciation for the generosity extended to us. It's without conditions. It's about, I'll only be grateful if you give me the kind of food I want and high quality requisites. But it is based on a very low standard of requisites. Shelter for the night, robes, rag robes, alms food, medicine for illness. So these four requisites are, to be reflected on too, so that we're not just sitting here expecting, taking for granted our position, that people should respect us or give us food or come here or anything. It's not like I'm such a wise and virtuous monk that people should, only bring me the best. That would be sakkaya ditthi, or the ego. I often like the image of the holy fool that they have in Christianity. Like your kind of holy fool looks like an idiot, simple-minded, brainless idiot. You think, and that's my ideal. Not being a charming, charismatic, famous Dhamma teacher, but in the simplicity of gratitude for what is offered. shelter for the night, food in the alms bowl, and so forth. Because this is moving toward qualities that bring peace of mind, to where, our habits, our worldly habits, are conditioned through greed, hatred, and delusion. And then most of us come from very materialistic societies about rights and getting what you can, proving yourself, becoming somebody, being a celebrity, being famous, making your mark on society. It's the society, at least this is what I remember, is very conditioned in that way. To prove myself, to be somebody, not just be, to have to want to pull myself up by my own bootstraps and get there, get to the goal, be a winner, a champion. That's the conditioning of the culture that I'm from. But notice that the samana life isn't like that. That doesn't work in this life. It's just not. But we still might have those kind of tendencies. We can. Sometimes it's a joke. Sometimes being a Buddhist monk, a bhikkhu, competition. I remember competing on patimokkha recitations, or who could sit still the longest without moving in full lotus. How, you can use anything for some kind of ego, proving yourself as, I can sit better than you can, or I can chant patimokkha faster than you. And that would be like the worldly conditioning from my cultural conditioning, influencing how I related to monastic life. And so that's where the reflection on the four requisites is I found very helpful in this sense of humility, gratitude, contentment. Because when you really have this contentment, gratitude, then it's very easy to practice. One isn't spending one's time complaining or wanting or grumbling or blaming the world around. And it's very simple-minded. Like, it's not that, I have this nice kuti, and my tendency on a personal level is to be attached to it. But I reflect on it. I say, the shelter for one night, rather than this is mine, this is my retirement home. Even though such thoughts have arisen in my mind, those are not the thoughts that I want to attach to. Then the samana in the society, here in Britain, for example, is it has its blessings. You can see how because of the good support we get, the people intuitively recognize the value of it and the respect they feel for what we're doing, for the goal, for the commitment to the samana life. And this is the beauty of the samana life, is that it can, in countries like for example, in Thailand, which I know the best, they can think, modern Thai people become quite materialistic too, so they can think in terms of, we have a very bright son or daughter, we want them to, get somewhere in the society, become a doctor, or a lawyer, or engineer, or a politician, or a film star, or whatever, and then they become a monk, and the parents are really upset, even though they're Buddhists, because you can think of the Buddhist monk as just a kind of parasite on the society. The stupid ones, that's how they end up. If you don't know what to do with them, put them in the robe. Or is it, the holy fool? Well, that's a kind of simplicity, a purity of consciousness, where even if, whatever, the shelter for the night, the food in the arms, but it isn't about conditions, about it being the best shelter or the best food, but it's a sense of gratitude, katanyu. And that can only be fully appreciated by recognizing ingratitude or discontentment. You can't make yourself grateful or content as a willful act. It's impossible. And so be aware of discontentment, ingratitude, of selfishness, of wanting to get somewhere, of wanting to be somebody. It's not like trying to say we shouldn't feel these emotions, but to recognize them. They are what they are. So in my life in Thailand, the early years, coming from my background, it was very much you complain a lot. If you don't get what you want and things aren't the way you believe they should be, you grumble and complain. And so that was how I was conditioned to experience life, very much a complaining habit. And so then in monastic life in Wat Pah Pong, when I first went there in 1967, I found my mind complaining. And in American terms, there was plenty to complain about. Because the standards, are so different. We expect so much and, demand a lot from life. And yet, living there in northeast Thailand, and then Wat Pah Pong was a very kind of primitive place. It isn't. Now it's become quite nice place to live, actually. But say 44 years ago, it was really rough kind of life. But this requisites I reflected on, and I could just see my own. It's a kind of mean-heartedness sometimes, grumbling, complaining, blaming. And not to think, that I could make that into feeling guilty about it, that I shouldn't, that I should be grateful for this, because there's a whole sequence there. You hold an ideal of being grateful with what you get, for what you get, but then the habit tendencies may be to complain or be ungrateful. And to notice that, it's like this complaining, tendency to complain and blame is like this. So just by putting it into, recognizing it and accepting complaining and blaming, it's not a mental state that leads towards happiness or peace or anything else. It just leads onward to more complaining, blaming. So then I think, well, do I have to spend my life complaining about everything? Or this is opportunity to let go of that habit. So it's just by questioning, asking myself, do I want to be reborn as a human being again to go through another lifetime complaining about it all? Or, it's good enough. Food, shelter for the night, medicine for illness, robes. Then I began to see discontentment, and by seeing it and recognizing, letting go of discontent, not suppressing it, but recognizing, letting it be what it is, it naturally ceases, nature to cease. And just by that kind of recognition, discernment, then the rest takes care of itself. Because the monastic form, its whole purpose is towards being content, towards contentment, and within the, because we don't expect and we don't demand a lot, and our commitment is towards cultivating bhavana, recognizing emptiness, silence, stillness, pure consciousness, here and now, until we find that that's what we really are. That's our, as Luang Por Chah would say, our real home, where suffering ceases. So I encourage you all at this time to cultivate, and whatever you're going through at this time, it's part of what you need to learn from. It's not, so it's not about having to change anything, but awakening emotionally, physically, whatever, psychically, whatever conditions you're experiencing. That's the path, by seeing them, recognizing them, allowing them to be what they are. And in that allowing, it's a letting go, it's non-attachment. A conditioned phenomena ceases. Its nature's to cease. So you actually, prove it. You can see that this awareness then allows you to recognize the presence and absence of whatever, of pleasant, painful conditions, physical, emotional, mental. So I offer this for your reflection for this evening.